Okay. Kirsten, this is my first term, okay? So I've been in 3.5 years. So if there's problems before this, it's not me, it's more. So we'll get that out of the way. But a lot has went on in my first term. It really has. There's a lot of change in Wares Valley, as you know. Years ago, I'm born and raised in this church. I would have known every single face in here. And I'm out in the community a lot, and I probably know 50 to 60% of you in here right now, so it shows how much we've grown. But we are still a close-knit community. I feel that way. Biggest changes, our fire department. As most of you know, we've now merged with Sevier County Fire Department. We have paid firefighters. I think they're here tonight in the back. It's 2 of them. We have full-time firefighters now. The only issue is we don't have housing yet for the firefighters. We'll get into that in a little bit. But we do have paid firefighters from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., 7 days a week here. And that will be going full 24/7 here soon. That is something that's really good for our community. Tons of road projects. So there's a lot going on our roads. We have an extension of Round Top Drive. There's some people in here right now that live on Round Top. I've already been asked. The paving on that's going to start here pretty soon. Claybo Road, Thunder Mountain, Happy Hollow, Covemont, Hatcher Mountain. There's some issues there, some old tiles and stuff that are being changed out that we're trying to get up to date, working on that. He can elaborate on it. Of course, we have the new convenience site down the road. So far, it's been really good. It seems for the most part to be going over quite well. Developments. I know growth is a big question, and so there is some developments that are on, I guess permit-wise, still in the phases. You know of the new wedding venue that's on Lime Springs. That's, I'm going to say, probably 25% done. The lower end of the valley was that big development off of Valley View. Do y'all remember that? The Herb Ownby Farm. That's kind of stale in the water now. We've not heard anything from them. They applied for so many homes. We kind of kicked that back and asked for less homes, and they just pulled the permits, is what they did, and pulled it away. Let me make something clear, like, you know, we can't stop them from building something on their land, but what they were asking for was a lot of homes. And so just trying to dial it back some. And then also there's a possible campground at the corner of Manus and Wares Valley Road. That big field on the left as you're going toward Townsend, but it's not looking really good. I'll just go ahead and tell you, they tried it once before about 6 months ago, a year ago. Another group did. They ran the cost on it because there's a lot of floodplain, and they have to do a lot of fill on it, and they ended up running the numbers that didn't come back. It's going to be beneficial, so they pulled. I think we'll run into the same thing here, and there's a water issue where we're getting water rights, so I think that's kind of stale in the water also. And then I'm going to get on my phone just for a second. I'm not checking Facebook. I never do that. But John Manning sent me some stuff on Werewood. I know Werewood is kind of the heart of the valley. Used to, everything ran through Werewood. You was nobody if you wasn't at Werewood. So let me, okay. Werewood this year, I know everybody's seen the signs that they're really proud of. They're posted everywhere, but it is a state reward school. We have the vice principal here tonight, somewhere I've seen her, over to the side. Penny Barnes is over here. This is something that's really hard to achieve. We're a level 5 school, is that right? I think it's level 5, which is the highest rating you can get in the state of Tennessee. Also, 3 years ago, and this was early on into my term, and it was really nerve-wracking for me. They came to me and said they were pulling 7th and 8th grade at Werewood. And as we know, there's been a battle of Werewood staying open for years. I know that. And it's not really been for, 20 years? But they came to me and said, we're going to pull 7th and 8th grade. It's better for the kids to go to the bigger school earlier to kind of make friends. You can ask Tammy, I was really against this, and I lost. But it's actually been really good. The kids that's went on, my son was the first one that didn't get an 8th grade class. He actually went on down, and he's doing quite well at Pigeon Forge. In doing that, when they took the 7th and 8th grade, they let us replace it with a pre-K. The pre-K numbers are a little low this year, But overall, we've had more kids in pre-K than we've had in 7th and 8th grade combined. And so when they pulled our kids from 7th and 8th grade from Warewood, the total number of enrollment was at 194, was how many kids we had 3 years ago, and they pulled them. They pulled 2 grades, give us one. Now we're at 204 kids enrolled, and more still coming. Warewood's as big as it's been in a very long time. Now, we are seeing a lot of kids from like Pigeon Forge, that the parents, because the school is rated so high by the state, they're bringing their kids from Pigeon Forge to Warewood. Because it's still like a hometown private school is what it feels like. It really is a family. So a lot of good things are going on there. Also, I know most of y'all may not care about this, but the basketball teams, that's the only sport we have at Warewood, they're doing really good. I know there are probably some grandparents and parents in right now, but 2nd grade boys won the championship this year in basketball. 2nd grade girls, 3rd grade boys, and 5th grade boys. Remember, we're the smallest school playing basketball, so quite the accomplishment. I'll let everybody else go on and they can elaborate on this stuff, and then I guess we'll open it up to questions. Thank you. Okay.
I better go too.
Hey, they have to leave. They have a house fire. That was Chief Bucket. He is our new fire chief, once the county took over. The biggest thing he's gonna talk about, and I think Andy then left also, they've got some bags over here and some request forms if you want smoke alarms or anything like that, and they have some informative packets over here also. I'll try to answer the questions for him if you have fire questions later on. The biggest thing we're issuing right now is we can't house or sleep our firefighters in the existing building. So that's the biggest issue, is we can't find somewhere for them to sleep at night. And we have to have female and male quarters also, and we just don't have the room. So we were looking at a remodel of the fire department and still trying to decide this, or finding another site to build a new fire department. And so that's where we're at right now, and we don't have a temporary housing for them. So, and I mean this when I say it, if you can think of something, or if you have somewhere that we don't know about that you are willing to rent or lease, or we can house our firefighters in the meantime, let me know after the meeting, and we'll entertain it and come by and look at it. Because that's the biggest thing right now, they can't sleep here. And so that's why they're driving back to the main station every night. Which we still have volunteer firefighters here, but it's nice having those guys there. Minutes notice, they're ready to go. Okay, thank you.
To add to what Brandon was talking about the fires, we get a little hinky up here when there's a fire. Yeah. We don't much care for that, and our fire department does a phenomenal job. In 2025, I'm gonna give you some stats that your sheriff's department's taking care of for you and the things that they've responded to, but some of those are small type fires, structure fires and brush fires. A total of 56 in 2025. That's from January 1st of 25 until today. So that number's down. We like it to be as low as it can be. We like it to be at 0 if we could. But that's always a fear up here. And the way that the terrain is, I mean, you know what I'm talking about. So Hatcher Mountain and all those things that we've dealt with in the past. So it's always a concern of all your emergency services, something that we pay close attention to. I just want to talk to you about a couple of things, just so that you know what you have going on up here. In a lot of cases, a lot of tourism up here, a lot of the visitors in this area, but because of local visitors, local residents, you're offered so many services. I just want to make sure you know about them. And one of those are directed patrols. Directed patrol being when you're not here and you're going out of town and you want somebody to look after your house. Call the sheriff's office and tell them you want to do a check on your property. Okay. In 2025, we did 906 in this area, Ware Valley alone. Okay. So what does that entail? We're going to walk around your property. Well, when I say we, there'll be at least one. But they'll do that a couple of times a day. They'll stick a card in your door to let them know that, hey, your property was checked at this time. That doesn't mean we're snooping. We're just trying to help you out. But that's an easy thing. Hey, we need somebody to do a property check at our house. And so we did 906 of those in 2025, just looking out for our citizens, because at some point, you go on vacation from here. Everybody else comes here to vacate, but we usually go somewhere else, right? So just keep that in mind. We are the sheriff's office is the only animal control gig in the county. The cities don't have those. just the sheriff's office does. I've got 3 men that work in our animal control division. In Wares Valley alone, they answered, they had 363 animal complaints, which is about 1 a day. To put that in perspective, that's just Wares Valley. So we're busy. And so, but on average, we're picking up about 300 or 400 animals a month across the county. And then in the same stead, hopefully getting them adopted back out. There's a lot of give and take there, and Brian will probably talk about the animal shelter at some point when it's his turn. So I'm gonna make him. I'll start some stuff here. But that's 12,000 square feet of footage of building down there in Sevierville that animals get brought to. Okay, and obviously the goal is to get those animals adopted. And so it's difficult on the staff with a 4 or 5 person staff to do that. So what we do is we take female inmates. Okay, we go every morning at about 6:30, and they clean the entire facility. And they do a phenomenal job. And so that the staff can spend the day marketing and trying to get these dogs and cats and rabbits and pigs, sugar gliders. There may have been a snake or 2. They may have actually showed up. I don't know if anybody brought them, but in an effort to try and allow the staff to do what we've hired them to do, which is to help promote adoption. You know, and so our inmates, free labor, can't beat that, right? Our male inmates, some of our trustees there, I've got 3 mowing crews. They go out there mowing 56 county properties throughout the summer. They're doing the mulch work and all that stuff. And some of the playgrounds at some of our schools, they'll go spread the mulch right before school starts. And so just some other services that are not costing anybody anything. They're here. I brag to the Knox County Sheriff and Blount County Sheriff, who are my friends, but that we can feed an inmate for $1.09 a meal. So that is not steak and potatoes and a nice dinner roll with a side salad. Obviously, we have a nutritionist who sets our menus and sets our caloric intakes and all those things with carbs and starches and proteins and all that stuff. But we're feeding them for about $1.09 a meal, which is about $3.27 a day. Trying to be really good stewards of your tax dollars. Let's see, a couple of things. I'd say we probably want to talk about wrecks up here. That's going to come up at some point, I'm sure. And the traffic, right? Yeah. Okay, let's get there. Let's just get into it right now. So much fun. So that's all the good stuff. In 2025, we stopped 690 cars in Wares Valley. And so that's, I know the grand scheme of things, but 690 vehicle stops, that's just a traffic stop for whatever the infraction may be, whether it be speeding, improper lane change, weaving, whatever the case may be. 690 times we stopped vehicles in the Wares Valley community. We worked 410 crashes. Out of those 410, 55 of them involved injury, 355 did not. And then welfare checks, when somebody calls and they're worried about a loved one, we did 254 of those, so about 1 a day, just about. But the wrecks are usually minor in nature. We've had, like I said, 55 had some injury to them, no fatality there, but just injuries. And so fortunately, I like when the number is without injuries to be a lot bigger than the one with. But anyways, I'll go ahead and bring it up. You may start it. I'll start the party. Here we go. So the Weed Eater Convention that we had back in September. Those are the little cars that sound like weed eaters and they backfire and pop. You with me now?
No, weed eater, ain't that loud.
There was just a couple of them, right?
Yeah.
Brandon and I talked a couple of times that week, and he was really quick to point out some of your concerns, adamantly. And I actually came up on Friday morning and sat across from Warewood School because they were coming off the Foothills Parkway, and I didn't know you could do those types of things to Mercedes and BMWs and Audis, but you can if your mommy and daddy do that for you. So, but we tried our best to slow those down and spend some time up here where we could. That was probably one of those things that nobody could have figured, that when a show in Florida and a show in Maryland gets canceled, they decided, let's go to Tennessee. They did. And I didn't know that 18 and 19-year-olds got up at 7 o'clock in the morning. Mine never did, unless it was a school day. But I was eating breakfast at Elvira's this morning, and one of the guys there told me, he said, I don't think they ever went to bed. So that may have had something to do. They may have been on energy drinks all weekend. But you know as well as I do, that proved, besides just the traffic issues that we incurred, there were obviously some dangerous situations that happened in the city of Pigeon Forge, and our officers were there assisting Pigeon Forge to help those things at the market and everything like that. So I'm well aware of that. The chiefs and myself met together with the mayors the county and all the cities, and it really wasn't difficult to agree that we don't need them back. They've been told that. So hopefully we can just say that was a horrible 4 or 5 days, but it's the last 4 or 5 days we have to deal with them. My ears couldn't take it. I was on my way to Warewood that day, and I was coming down Maples Branch. I live up by Water State, and I could hear one popping in the background. It was like 6:30. I was like, we don't have cabins on Maples Branch. What is it? They're right behind me all the way. So I get it, and we did our dead level best on that. There was just some sheer number issues, 10, 12,000 of them, and so all the departments working together. But that's kind of what we ended up with there. I know your traffic concerns here usually involve getting in and out of the valley. Is that fair? Yeah. Y'all just nod your head. Okay, I got you. So obviously, Wares Valley Fall Festival comes up. Does that come to mind in October? So there'll be a change in the Fall Festival that comes up in October of 26, and what that will entail is I'm going to put some deputies in the field, not just at Robeson Road. Does that make sense? And so just to make sure that we get them parked faster. A lot of the problem is not getting them off the road, it's getting them in the grass. If we just get them in the grass, and that would free up the Wares Valley Road. So we looked at different ways to bring them into the field for you, to just get them off the road. I promise you, I understand your plight. I was on Wares Valley Road. I was about the Valley View, and I waited 2 hours and 10 minutes to make it to where the Fall Festival was, and I didn't feel very fallish at that point. So I was a little more angry-ish, but so I feel your pain, and so from looking at it, studying the traffic patterns that way, it looks like our simplest fix is to get them off the road faster, and one way to do that is to have some deputies in the grass, pull them in there and just get them out of the way so that you guys can travel to and from. Now, if you live on Robeson Road, you're gonna be mad at me 'cause that's where we're putting it. But as far as that goes, that's the fix for 26, and we'll see what happens. That was pretty good. Fix for 26. I like that. There's a few more, but we're not allowed to campaign right, Pastor, so we'll keep going. So that's kind of where with the Wares Valley Fall Festival. So I know that can be very frustrating every fall in October. It is for me too, because that's the weekend of Alabama. But something that keeps very beautiful, that board is going to do, is they're actually going to beautify the new convenience center. They're going to decorate it with some landscaping out front. I've talked to Brandon about that, and so that board is putting together a beautification project to set up. It'll be cost free to the community, but just to make the convenience center area look nicer and more pleasant on the outside. And then other than that, the jail just recently got accredited with a Tier 2 accreditation. That's the highest you can get in the state. They've been accredited 4 times. 25 we got accredited twice because we stepped up a level. And the accreditation is nice because it raises the level of professionalism inside the agency, but at the same time, it increases revenue that we get back from the state. So prior to having an accreditation at the correctional status, we had about $41 a day per inmate, state inmate. Once we got accredited at Tier 1, it was about 47, and then we got accredited at Tier 2. That took us up to 53, and so that number goes from about 100,000 a month to about 115 to 120,000 a month, and now to about 140,000 a month. So it really drastically increases our revenue. Obviously, all that is based upon the number of inmates we're housing for the state of Tennessee at any given time, but that number usually fluctuates between 80 to 90 to 100 inmates. Currently, our jail is holding about 380 to 400 a day. We can hold 564, so it's kind of like a resort. Only they're getting fed at $1.09 a meal, so it's not really that great a resort. But those are the things that are going on. We've created a reentry program so that when they get out of jail, they don't come back. Working on with their GED programs. We're doing things with with programs. So we have tablets that are issued from the state that are free, that allow these inmates to study HVAC and plumbing and electrical in an apprentice type setting, get the bookwork done, and then we start talking to TCAT. TCAT came to our jail, Tennessee College of Applied Technology. They came to our jail back in the fall, brought a 53-foot trailer. You're not going to believe me when I tell you this, and they taught 11 of our inmates how to weld. There was a guard there. But we had 6 male inmates and 5 female inmates that began the process of learning a trade that maybe they could use on the outside so that we don't have them back. I'd rather see them, not really at a restaurant, but maybe out in public and say, hey, how are you? Good to see you're doing well. And so what we're trying to do is create programs that reduce recidivism, that we don't want them reoffending and come back into our facility. So those are some of the things going on in your jail that are going really well. And Pleasure to be your sheriff, and I'll answer your questions, I guess, when we get done with the group.
Well, we kind of stole basically everything that I had written down to talk about, to be honest with you. One good thing about my job is I get to work with all of these folks up here, including all of our other entities and officials and departments in order to help coordinate and get to coordinate with our state officials and also our federal officials, which I'd much rather deal with the state than the feds, Fred, just to be honest with you. But, you know, a couple projects we've been really working on here in the Valley that, I mean, how many of you have used the new convenience center so far? Okay, so I'm curious, how many of you like it? Okay, so okay, we got some claps for a convenience center. I'll take that. That's good. So, you know, it's something that's been worked on for decades to try to figure out a way to get a convenience center up here in Wares Valley. And so that's really a testament to our commissioners and to those folks that worked really hard in order to try to make that happen. The thing we also know is we want to make it to look nice. So we're going to be sure to do the landscaping and make sure all that's taken care of. One really good thing too about it, if you don't know, it's open on the weekends. It's open on Saturdays. It's also open on Sundays, and it's open most holidays. Now that is, of course, to help take care of the cabins that may be using that facility. But what's great is that it's also good for our residents, that you can come and actually use the facility as well. Sevier County is one of, if not the top counties for recycling in the state of Tennessee because of the way we do our solid waste. It's done at the compost facility. So the idea was, it's going to be really hard. We can't teach the tourists really even how to drive on the roads, let alone how to recycle and stuff, right? And so for us, being able to recycle on the back end, so when that trash gets to the actual compost facility, they go through the process, we're able to actually take out about 60%, if not more, of that stream just by going through the compost aspect of it. And so that's really saved the life of our landfill and other things. And I'm telling you, if you think that landfill and solid waste sounds really boring, you're 100% correct, but it's super important when these things come down the pike. If you ever want any better example of why having full-time fire service here in the Valley and all across parts of our county is important, we just saw it tonight. So there was a deck fire, that's where they went off to take a look at that. And that's something we're proud to be able to provide. Wares Valley are these full-time firefighters. You know, it's going to help whenever we have different situations. They'll also be able to do medical calls. Brandon's right. The issue we have right now is being able to house them up here. And so figuring out how to do that, that may encompass a complete renovation of where we are, or something we're looking at is building a complete new station. And that may be a station that is able to expand really easily for ambulance service and other things. The main thing being that we have to prepare and plan to be able to take care of those services as we go down the road, okay? And so we're going to be working with our commissioners and all of our folks across the board in order to address that. But again, the firefighters have been a really big positive. Hope you guys have seen that. And then we're looking forward to seeing that grow as well. Talking about traffic, and I know I don't want to steal any Donnie's thunder, although this is a state route out here too, so both of you guys can talk about this. A project that was just approved, or a process that was just approved by the county back in the end of 2025 was our Safe Streets for All program. What that was is that is a massive grant program that went through and identified dozens of intersections and roads and things that need to be upgraded or improved all across the county. That went throughout the cities, it went throughout the county, and it took public input, it took input from our professional folks, it took all the crash data. If you want to see a copy of that, I'm happy to provide that, and if it's on our website, it should. It's fascinating and really a good look about us identifying ways that we can improve intersections and roads all across the county. Some of them are as large as, hey, we need to build Veterans Boulevard. And then some of them are as small as, we need some stop bars at these places. And so our highway department, our folks all across TDOT and the cities have been working on that. One intersection, I'm sure, has anybody been to Metcalf Bottoms to try to get out on Lime Springs Road on Wares Valley Road? Okay. Yeah, okay. So you guys know it's a pain, right?
You cannot
so
turn left.
It is near difficult, or see, right, straight, you can't really anywhere on that road. And so working with the state, in order to put in a traffic signal or make improvements to those intersections, you have to meet certain thresholds. Okay, so you have TDOT thresholds in order to make improvements and stuff. And so TDOT's been very kind to let us go through. The county actually signed a contract about 3 or 4 weeks ago. We are right now going through the study on intersection improvements for Lime Springs Road and Wares Valley Road. So now what they're going to be doing as a part of this is this traffic study will come up and they'll be able to identify, hey, what's the car count? Does that meet the thresholds for a signal? Does it not? Can we improve by putting turn lanes? And so that is a really exciting project for us in order to undertake. We appreciate our friends at TDOT and the state, but also here locally that's made that possible. You sometimes, they used to do a lot of these surveys and stuff about traffic counts by putting down the rubber things, that you run over, right? So you may see some of those, but one thing we're also being able to use is data from Google Maps. So kind of scary, but they sort of track you on occasion, so we can tell that. And so we're able to see about those peak times and stuff and be able to take all that into account. So we're really excited to see what that comes back at in order to help improve that intersection. And then if it doesn't meet the thresholds for a traffic signal, which is certainly that possibility it could, we will hope to also make an argument that we've got to make improvements due to crash data and other things from that standpoint. So, but we're excited about putting that project together, and hopefully that'll take care of that.
Well, the wedding venue hasn't even opened yet.
Correct, exactly. Yes, exactly right.
So they need to calculate that stuff in it too.
So it'll be interesting, and we'll make sure to make a note of that as they go through it, and kind of see. And the main thing too is that to make sure that they get the peak time, right? So the time the cars on that road today versus October is a little bit different, right? So
Jeep week.
Yeah, exactly. Jeep week is also exactly so with that. Speaking of Jeeps, I do want to say, Sheriff mentioned this briefly. We were in quite a bit of contact with the cities during the invasion of the weed eaters, and so that was really frustrating, I think, for all of us. And I'm gonna give credit where credit is due. The city of Sevierville, they were the ones actually hosting that event out at the convention center, and they listened to us. Canceled the event the next day, and happy to report they have canceled that contract. Okay, so they don't plan on them coming back. Now they could come back on their own accord, but they have canceled that contract. It will probably go to litigation because there were some guarantees from the city on that. But just FYI, they did cancel that, and we're really excited about that. As a part of that, we tasked economic development to take a look at some ways to get some public input on the car shows in general, okay? There are some in the business community that are pro car shows in Pigeon Forge. There are some that are against. Most residents are probably against the car shows, but then some of them are for them. And so we're trying to get better input from that in order to try to figure out exactly how to manage that, and the cities are looking at that. So there will be ways for you to provide input to that. And I was gonna add this, I've got a couple other things I just wanna make sure to mention. But your county government, and I think government in general, works better when you're involved, okay? If we don't get feedback, or we don't get ideas, or we don't get, hey, this is something that you need to look at, then it becomes stagnant. So you need to know that all of us, all your county commissioners, your representatives are here to serve you. And so our job is to listen and to do everything we can in order to help our communities. And so with any of these things that we're talking about, know that you have a seat at the table. We want to listen to you, and it's important for us to hear from you on ways that we can improve things. I wasn't going to mention the animal shelter, but since the sheriff mentioned it, we do have a $5 million animal shelter. It's a collaboration between the county and the cities. It's about $5 million that we built, and it actually has a save rate of over 90%. Some people were worried we were going to put in a pound type stuff. That really hasn't been the case. They've managed that to the best of their ability, but we do have that animal shelter, and we take in. The great thing is the sheriff provides reports of all the animals, and it's always cats, dogs, other. And so we're always like, what's the other? We're kind of curious as to see what that is. I won't steal anybody else's thunder or talk any longer, but just thank you all very much for the opportunity for us to be able to serve you, and look forward to discussing with you guys one-on-one or however that we can make some improvements for you.
Well, I think between Brian and Brandon, they talked about everything I was going to talk about. Like Brandon said, the round top drive extension, he called me one day, he said, this tile up here, you need to come look at it. I came up here and met Brandon, we looked at the tile. It did. So we replaced it. I told him, while we're here, it'd be nice if we could go ahead and finish the whole road out, make it passable all the way through. He said, let me make a few calls. He did. So while we were here, we went ahead and widened it, and hopefully, weather holds, we'll pave it 1st of April, sometime around there. Hatcher Mountain, there was a tile replaced there. It'll be paved around the same time, cold months, same thing. You know, anything like that, anybody has a trouble with, a problem, contact my office, get with Brandon, Don, or anybody. I'm happy to come look at anything anybody thinks, you know, we might need some attention. Anything we can do like that. And the one thing anybody in my business hates to talk about is snow. And this year was a bad year for that. But, you know, we try to add every year 1 to 2 trucks to our fleet. We're at 19 right now. We added 2 this past fall, so hopefully we've all seen a little bit of difference in the response with this snow. Of course, it was larger than any one we've had since '93, I believe, countywide. So, and then the Safe Streets for All. You know, that he mentioned Line Springs, Robeson Road is another road intersection that's in that study. The stop bars, like Valley View, that one was in there. I think we've already put stop bars there, and several other places we've already put the stop bars. So any safety improvements, anything like that, I'm happy to come look at. So I'll answer any questions you all have.
Do you have a number we could contact? What's the number for some of these things? Like, do you have
Oh,
a
yeah.
phone number you can
Yeah,
give us?
I'll tell you, or you can write it down and give it to whoever wants it. Anybody wants to write it down, it's
Sure, what would that be?
865 453 3452.
Thought that was the sheriff's number.
Thank you.
Well, since it's about over, I'll be quick. So. Anyway, so I'm Fred Ashley. I know a few people in the room. There's a lot of people here I don't know. But my role as state representative is, in my opinion, is to get as much money coming back here as we can get. And my 2 big issues that I push every day in Nashville are for roads and schools. Because reason being, we get hit harder on the money that we send to Nashville in taxes versus what we get back is way off. And in our school system, which is probably what, 67% of the county's budget, okay? Most counties in the state of Tennessee, state government funds 70% of the school system, and the local government funds 30%. Sevier County's flip-flop because of our tourism, and because of the amount they view us as rich up here. So, I'm just gonna be honest with you, I walked in day 1, last January, fighting this battle. So, and luckily, I got put on transportation committee, and I had a pretty good idea I was gonna be, and so that's good. One of my best friends is the chairman of the transportation committee, and we have this every morning at 6 o'clock, and drinking coffee in his office. We talk about how can we get more money for roads, and the whole state's got this problem, but the whole state don't have the problem we have. So you can go to West Tennessee, you got good 4-lane highways, but you don't have near the people we got here. So that's and this affects every one of you all, and we've already had this conversation talking about roads already, but in my opinion, that's what I'm focused on. One of the big things I'm focused on are the roads and getting money back for our school system. So the state formula is like $7,200 per child that comes back to the school, each school system, and the money follows the student. Well, after and I can't tell you how this formula is, and I don't know what anybody in the state can tell you, and how they come up with it, I really don't know. But anyway, this formula that they use right now, after they subtract this and that and this and that, is about $3,200. We get $3,200. No, actually $3,600. $3,669, I believe it is, per student, out of $7,200 coming back to Sevier County. So it's not fair. It's not right. And we're myself, representing farmer, we're trying to get a bill in right now. We've got a deadline of this deal, and as next week. We're trying to get more money come back. I don't know if we can pull it off. It's doubtful. If we can, that'll be an improvement to the school system here. And where it affects the people here, it keeps the county commission from having property tax. Because anytime the county commission has property tax, I spent 26 years on county commission until last January. And anytime we had a property tax, it was funded the Sevier County school system. You agree? So, anytime we get more money back from the state, that keeps commissioners from having to look at property tax, that helps that. So, that's, I feel like that's the big issues where Sevier County is hit financially from the state, and that's what I'm focused on. So, and I'll be glad after this is over with, talk to anybody about it, and you, or any other issue, but that's my two biggies, that, is trying to get money for infrastructure here. I mean, you know, water and sewer, road improvements, I mean, this road, we need improvements this road, so, anyway, that's kind of where I'm at and what I'm trying to get done, and, so, I'll stop it right there.
Well, most of you might know me, or some of you, it's Don McGill, worked at the trash place in Pigeon Forge. Really nice, I've never missed a beat in my life, so this is my first term, of the commissioner. And all I can say is, I'd like to see more water for the residents instead of some of the cabin people. I don't know what I can do, but I'll do my best. That's about all I can say. I'm no speech giver. I was told there wouldn't be no speech. Thank you.
Sure. I guess you'll raise your hand with a question. Let's try to keep it classy. Hey, if you do have like he was talking earlier, I don't know if I need a microphone. Can everybody hear me good? Yeah. Okay, I figured you could. You can get on Sevier.org, we talk about our numbers and stuff. If you get on Sevier.org, all of our numbers are posted, which everybody has my number, I hope, or you can get it pretty easily. But you go to Sevier.org and everybody's numbers is on there. Now Fred's probably not on there because he's big now. It might still be. You can get a hold of us anytime. If I don't answer, no exaggeration, I average like over 100 phone calls a day. So if I don't answer, I will call you back. So, or at least that's what I tell my wife. I will call you back. But yeah, let's open it up. But if you have like more concerns on stuff and we don't answer your question, just look at the number, find me on Facebook, send me a private message, whatever. And I can come over to your house, or we can have one of these guys come over to your house and sit down and elaborate more on it and talk more about it. But yeah, if you got a question, ask it. Go for it.
How is it that we have on a scenic highway, we have a garbage dump where bear can come and go at will, climb a fence, they can hop over them, doesn't matter. But they can come at night, see that they can't get into the container, and hop back out again, right over a major highway. How come we couldn't have found a spot that isn't a major highway?
Okay.
Especially scenic highway.
Okay, let me start. That location is probably number 9 on our location from where we started. But as you know, Wares Valley is full. The land's gone. There's no open land. And the first place we tried to put it was above the school, right next to my house. I live right below where it was school. That's the first place we tried to put it. The problem was we couldn't get egress. We couldn't get an easy road up and back down. It was too elevated unless we started using the back of the school parking lot where the kids are. Well, you don't know who's dumping. You don't know if they're a sex offender or what. And so we couldn't put that next to the school. Also, subdivision right behind it that butts up to it. So that was not location 1. Then below the fire department, there's a field below the fire department. There's like, I think it's 3 or 4 lots there. Thought that was a done deal. That fell through. Went down to Walton's Creek, on Walton's Creek Road. I know it's not in Wares Valley, but the location we have now behind the school could not withstand what was being taken there. And not to mention, it was in a flood zone.
Well, why have one at all? Why not, we were in Sevier, and Pigeon Forge was working out. Why did we
It was
have to
not
have
working.
one in Wares Valley?
It was not working out. It was full and being closed early very, very often. We've been over full and due for years for this. It's not like, let me make something clear first off. No way in my mind did I want to talk about a convenience site in my first term. No way. And everybody up here, they can tell you at some point they said, hey, stay away from it. Because you can't make everybody happy, you can't. That location, like I said, like 7 to 9 of where we wanted. But we ran out of spots, because nobody wants it next to their house. You can't put it in certain locations for egress. Is it in a great location? No, it's not, but the way it was built. Do what?
Could it be put to a vote?
No, that's never been done. You're opening up a can of worms there with it. And then this had to be approved by so many different departments, state level, county level, everything. So is it in a great location as far as scenic highway? No. However, I think when we get everything done, landscaping, everything, it'll be way nicer than what was there before. And as far as the bears go, as far as the bears go, there's no open food garbage that's visible. Everything is closed off in compactors. The only thing that's open is the debris dumpster. Am I right, Don? Everything else is closed off, so no bears can get into that. And those things are dumped. Is it daily? Yeah, they're dumped daily. So there's no open garbage there for bears to get into.
You're right about this Pigeon Forge closing a lot.
Yeah, Pigeon Forge closed a ton.
More trash every day, just like we do trash.
And this is a dual site. So like we call it a mega site. It's where residents can dump and cabin cleaners can dump. Because now that's commercial garbage versus residential garbage. The good in that is we were getting a lot of trash on Wares Valley Road, because they were piling up their trucks a mile high, because they were having to travel to Centerview to dump their trash. Which if you're in Homestead, Happy Hollow, that could be 45 minutes to an hour one way. So they were piling up their trucks, they were dumping it in construction dumpsters, they were dumping it in hollers, they were dumping it in creeks, other people's dumpsters, nonstop. Tons of calls on it.
Other people's
This
yards.
has made it easier for them to dump, and so now we're not seeing that as bad. I talked to, over your trash cleanup, what's his name? Tommy Watts. Talked to him about the other day, and he said he has seen a big decrease in garbage on Wares Valley Road. So speaking to the bear thing, I think this actually helps, because it's controlling it to one location that is fenced in, versus the garbage being spread all over the whole valley.
And it's a commercial area anyway with
Brandon?
the parking
Yeah.
lot and the halls and the,
Yeah.
you know, it's really a commercial area, so.
There's not a good spot. Let's be like, there's really not. In the back here first, I think it's.
Maple used to have a recycling day. I think it was down by the, behind the police station there. And I don't think they've had it for a few years. Is that ever gonna reoccur?
I would say.
Do you know what he's talking about?
Now we do a battle of the litter. Sheriff Department wins every year. But we locate in different areas across the county. We come to Pigeon Forge, we go to Gatlinburg, we go to Sevierville, we go to Seymour, go to Kodak, and then the departments just go out and pick up trash. We invite citizens to come with us, and it's just contest, but at the same time, it's a recycling thing too. It's put on by Keep Tennessee Beautiful, and then the local boards in each different county participate. I think that may be what you're talking about, because we'll take hazardous household waste like paint thinners and all those types of things, and the Centerview site holds that. You know, it does hold that. I'm not sure how I got the mic. Thanks, Brandon. But I also have the only litter control division in the county, and we pick up about 42,000 pounds of trash a month off the ground. Okay, so to have another convenience center, big fan. Only because it is a beautiful highway, and we're a scenic highway, and Tommy's right, Sergeant Tommy Watts is my supervisor that oversees that, but we truly run about anywhere from 28 to 42,000 pounds of trash off the ground per month with 4 trucks on the road. And so we use people who are doing intensive public service work to work off their charges and as part of their probation. But honest to goodness, the convenience centers have lowered that down, because it was about 50,000. So yes, sir.
The convenience center, when you go in there now, there's a sign that says, "Get your receipt." So is somebody being charged to dump there?
Yes.
Who's being charged?
Yes, I think it's time for him.
Yeah.
I don't take the money. I just put you in jail. We're
Commission makes a determination. So the commission established a fee for commercial dumping, so for like short-term rental cabins. And so short-term rental cabins, if they want to dump, originally the convenience centers were intended for residential use only. But we all know over time that creeped with a lot of cabin cleaners and things of that nature. So it was either let's shut it off for, let's shut it off for commercial, or let's allow some areas that can do that in order to prevent some of this stuff getting dumped in the hollers and the hills and that nature. So short-term rentals are charged cleaning commercially there at the site. The receipt thing is actually an internal control issue. So what we want to do is we want to force those attendants to give a receipt if you're paying, and that helps us keep the internal controls to make sure there's no money getting taken. So yeah, if you are a commercial short-term rental, folks dumping off household garbage, there is a fee for that. So great question.
But not for the residents.
But not for the residents. Residents are always free.
Hey, before we take another one, can we let Chief Puckett, since he's back?
Thank you so much. I just really did that for theatrical points. I'd just like to say how happy I am to be here tonight. I've actually, over the last 4 or 5 years, I've had the opportunity to come out, I think, in the same building and talk before, even to HOAs and stuff. You know, I remember then saying, I'm doing what I can to try to get some fire protection in the valley. I'm excited to have my lieutenant and one of our firefighters that was here earlier that had to run out to show you that we are making those great strides in that. And like Commissioner Hedrick said, you know, the station up here was never really designed for 24-hour, you know, coverage for sleeping and things of that nature. So the crews are coming out and they're staying through the day hours, and then they're having to go back to sleep, and then they come back out the next morning. Plus, we have volunteers that continue there as well. But just like this call that we just responded to, it done my heart good to see our truck leave immediately to go on a house fire, and Walton's Creek truck leave immediately through their staffing through a safer grant, and both trucks pulling in the driveway at the same time. And having 4 people on those, you know, 2 and 2, and then having a couple of admin staff, myself and another one, to show up at 6, and we was able to contain it to a porch. So, but with that being said, you know, I'll add this: these long driveways that we have, everybody likes to be right, including myself. These trucks, even though they were very short, we have specific trucks to be able to go up these mountain roads, they were having to turn multiple times in these switchbacks, and they even drove a very large boulder out of the ground on the boxes. But these are things that we have to combat, and you know, the overhead trees and things like that. But we just want to let you know that, you know, we are out in the valley now. If you see our guys stop by the station, they should be there. They are going to be doing pre-plans of a lot of the businesses, going and checking them out, and, you know, putting contact information in their system, so if we have an event, we can get a hold of the business owners after hours. On top of that, also starting to check hydrants and things of that nature. One really amazing thing is that the ISO level for Wears Valley has been a 5. After this recent evaluation, it is now a 4. So what does that mean? 1 is great, 10 is not good. We are moving in the direction where we need to be. So what does that do? That changes, if you're within 5 driving miles of our station, then it should help your homeowner's insurance. There's nothing I can do outside of that other than 5 driving miles, except for adding more stations. But for the most part, we were able to do that. We was also able to do the haul water grading, which means that we've got enough trucks toting water now. At the 1,000 foot to a hydrant that's not relevant anymore, because we're able to transport the water. So, but with that being said, you know, the battle is won and lost a lot of times with the residents. And what I mean is, small measures that you do in your home, it really goes a long ways. Keeping the chimney and stuff cleaned out, disposing of ash. Since we have started enforcing a lot of burn regulations across the county, we have had a dramatic decrease in ignitions from illegal burns. And, that's reminding y'all that through the, we're still have to have a permit until May 15th, and then the open season starts. So October 15th, May 15th, you still have to get those permits. Know that we have a Firewatch program. If any of your HOAs or communities are interested in the Firewatch program, that is a good way to get grant funds to help your community manage the wildfire threat. And I brought some Smoky bag, swag bags and smoke alarm request forms up here. If your smoke alarm is over 10 years old, or it is yellow looking, you need a new one. And they are free for residents. They're not for rentals, they are for residents. It's through the state program that we have, and not only are they free, we will come and install them. If you have questions or doubts, you can call and we'll come out and check the ones that you have. But the alarm request forms are on the desk up here. And like I said, they're 100% free. You can fill them out and correspond with the information on there, and we'll come out in a timely manner and get you a smoke alarm installed. There's no reason to not have a working smoke alarm. Okay, they're free out there. We send this out in the school system also. The other thing I want to tell you is that I have some 911 address sign order forms laying on the counter as well. If we can't find you, we can't help you. So if you, and let's put it this way, if the pizza man can't find your house, if Amazon can't find your house, if UPS or Grubhub can't find the house, there's a good chance, unless there's fire blowing out the window, we're not going to see it either. So we do sell through the fire administration office for $20 and $25 a reflective sign. You can get blue or brown according to your aesthetics of your, some people like the brown for the, it's less intrusive. The blue is the same color as our street signs, so it automatically is the color that the emergency workers are used to looking at. But, putting your house number on that, putting them along the driveway every time it forks or somewhere's on the post, means time. That's really what it means, because if we can't see your house from the roadway and we can't see the house number from the roadway, and we have a 30,000-pound emergency truck going up the wrong way and congesting it, then that can also make or break a fire on getting us there in a timely manner. Or we do run first response medical as well, and if you're, we go out on certain priority medical calls, and if you're having a heart attack, time is sales, and we want to be able to get there and help as quickly as possible. So thank you, and y'all have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I live in Deerfield, and a lot of a lot of the houses there, like mine, I live on the right side of the road, but my mailbox is on the left. So it's very important, I guess, to have it on the house, because how would you know?
It is.
Well, fire, you'd see.
So we do have really good apps now that when they call 911, they push it out, and it actually, the reason I got up and run out is I looked down, I heard his pager go off, and I immediately looked at my app, and it said, confirmed structure fire, Where's Valley Road? And I was like, it actually was at the zone line between the two districts, but occasionally it'll send me to Salt Lake City. Or there's a Sevier County in Utah, right? Maps do make mistakes, and so it is very important to have those addresses posted. If we can't see your house from the roadway to where we see this, and like I said, these signs are 4-inch letter, reflective, not contrasting background signs, aircraft aluminum, so they won't rust or rot. No, that I'm plugging, I can't paint on that. But if we can't see it, then we need signs along the roadways leading us to it. The more the signs, the better, because we'll go to a split, and if it doesn't show that, then come to Campbell Hall where I live, and I can show you. I've got like 5 different house numbers trying to get just to my house. I want to make sure people can find it.
So you can put that, it's depending on the mailbox, you can actually get just a
post.
metal post and put it on your driveway side, if your mailbox is on the other side.
Yes, ma'am.
you were talking about the dilemma of, do we remodel the fire hall we have now, or do we rebuild, relocate? Whenever any of that does start, is there any plans of having an ambulance service included with that? Are we gonna have a rig in the valley?
So, I can tell you, I am not over the ambulance service, but, I can tell you that, we do have a preliminary kind of sketch that would, invite development of that with that potential in mind. And, like I said, like where we're at out there is a very good lot. The problem is that lot is great for what it is, but for expansion, it's not so great. So we're still diligently looking and, at trying to figure out the best location. And we've got some, some different designs we're looking at there, if that come about. And, like I said, it just depends on that time when we approach it. But I'm always for, emergency service in locations, so.
The problem we're running into on the existing fire department, we looked at remodeling it, is like the doors are way smaller than what normal doors are on a fire department now. Trucks are bigger. So like we have to order our trucks with a smaller and lower chassis to fit in the fire department. I'm gonna say this right in front of all these people that can help get this done. So it would almost, even though it cost us more to build a new station, it would really save us down the road. And we can go ahead and build, like he said, like Brian was saying, for the growth, we can go ahead and allow for the ambulance now, have it set for extra trucks, for extra park. There is some locations we're looking at to try and make that happen, because we don't know if it'll fit where the fire department is now. You'd have to turn it a certain way, and trucks can only come a certain way. So it would need to be something that's centrally located in the valley. We can't have it, in the preserve. It needs to be somewhere centrally located in the valley. But we are looking at that because at first we thought it was going to be way cheaper to just remodel the existing fire department. It's not way cheaper, I promise you.
She's
The
done it before,
numbers.
you're shaking her head.
Yeah, I mean, it was really close to just build a new station versus remodeling that, and we wouldn't have to order the special trucks just to fit in the doors. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we've got two pieces out there, and one of them, it's the high, obviously, from the trucks in the 80s and stuff, it was perfectly fine. Trucks now, we can't have longer trucks because of the mountain roads, so they gotta go up or wider, and we can't handle the wider either, so it pretty much is the high thing. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I have a question for you gentlemen. I live in an unincorporated part of Wares Valley with no CC&Rs. And I have a neighbor that has a totally dilapidated house that's been there for years. The gentleman passed away. There's one family member still living on the property. We had to build an 8 or 10 foot fence so we didn't have to look at this. We have approached this gentleman that's still living there, but do we have a recourse to any of you that might have suggestions of what we can do?
So the county now is allowed to pass similar regulations as a city would when it comes to property maintenance. The issue that we've run into when we've had these conversations with some of our county commissioners is, to what extent do we do so? And so it's a really hard thing to come up with, like as far as what is reasonable. Do I think that you have recourse? There are certain rules and regs that would prevent if it's an environmental hazard that we have addressed. And so if you think that that is, I mean, we've even had people call in, we can go to the health department if it's like like rats and stuff like that. Believe it or not, we've had to do that. Yeah, so if that's the case, maybe after this, me and you could kind of just hook up and I'll get your information and let me get that over to planning and stuff and see. And these guys can talk a little bit more about maybe, how county commission is sort of working through these issues, because they're complicated, and to figure out exactly how we address this.
Yeah, we're in the middle of residential and commercial, let's just be honest. I mean, 10 years ago here, you might have been all residents around your house. now you might be the only resident in your neighborhood. And so it's a real problem. And you know, there's these ideas, and of course, when I came in new, I had all these great ideas, like, hey, we're gonna just set these zones where this is the only place you can rent, and we're gonna have this over here where we're gonna have a noise ordinance, we're gonna shut everything down. No, that's very naive of me. So it is really hard to try to find out, like, what we can do and what we can't do. If you have an issue with your neighbor, whether it's a rental or, in your case, it's lowering your property values, reach out to me, and I'll come by, and then I'll typically just call people smarter than me, and I'll have them come out or see what they can do to help out in that situation. Because there is a very gray area there on what you can say or cannot say to your neighbor, but also that works the same thing your neighbor cannot say or do to you. So there's a real gray area there. So if you'll just reach out, which if you're bypassing me, good move. Because I was going to send you that way. But just reach out and let me know, and I'll help.
Yes, Brenda. We solved the fall festival traffic situation. But has anyone looked at making a center turn lane on Wares Valley Road? And I know it would require some people giving up a little property on each side of the road in order to.
There was a traffic study done, how long ago? A long time ago, like a long time ago by the state. They done a traffic study, calm down, before he was elected. There's a traffic study done that showed like all these traffic lights in the valley. It showed a center turn lane in the valley. There's a lot of stuff. But as we need these upgrades and need things to happen to better these intersections, let's remember we're still Wares Valley. So we want to keep that hometown feel that we're losing. I know that. I was born and raised here. It's changed. So there's a study that was done 10 years ago that showed that we needed, I think it was like, the troublesome areas were Line Springs, Robeson, Happy Hollow, and Valley View. Valley View actually had more wrecks than any of the other locations. Now that's changed. Valley View has actually went back to second. I think Robeson is number one again now. It's very congested there. And so, but this all goes back to the state, which I know he's new. This goes back to the state. Same thing with the 45 mile an hour. I get a lot of phone calls on that. Do we drop it down to 35 in the valley? That's over my head. That's something that's brought to their attention. And this new traffic study is something we can use now as like ammunition to get stuff done. So, somebody raise their hand right here.
Well, I'm just curious about the money that was to be used for the study, the traffic study. That's state money, I guess?
It was grant money.
Okay.
Right.
State grant money?
I think it was federal money that went through the state in order to do the Safe Streets for All process. Was that there was a match that came in, but then the actual road and intersection study that we're doing on Line Springs is all county money.
Okay. Well, when I first moved here in 2016, I went to them about the Line Springs intersection then. I was told by the county, we don't have anything to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
I was sent to the state, and the state said they'd send an engineer out, which I don't think ever came out. And when I asked about the federal, they said they're not involved.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wonder why they've got a federal 321 sign out there if there's not federal money on it. So I worked in the road building business in Florida, and I know that there's rules, at least in Florida, and with the federal money, there's rules on the number, the distance between traffic lights and the speed limits, and then the width of the road and the shoulders of the road. So all that has to come into play here. I don't know that we could ever live up to all of that.
Not the mountains.
I mean, you couldn't do that in Tennessee because we got all kinds of roads out here with no guardrails, and drop-offs 30 feet. In Florida, it's 6 inches within a certain distance of the road.
Yeah.
But, we definitely need a traffic light at Line Springs. And they need intersection improvements to have enough turn lanes. I know that when we built roads in Florida, if you put a trolley in with the traffic light, you actually increase, the flow of traffic can get better. When you put traffic lights in, you're probably gonna have to reduce the speed limit. That would be my guess, is it was gonna probably have to be done because of the distance between traffic lights, between Robeson and Lion Springs. But the traffic is gonna improve. It would actually be better, and especially if you reduce the speed, all the businesses in Wares Valley are gonna benefit because people are gonna slow down enough to see the business and be able to turn into the business. And when you got traffic lights, that automatically separates traffic. When the traffic actually stops for the light, you get a pause in between, so people can turn. So your whole traffic patterns tend to increase with the traffic lights. I know people resist it. They don't want it. They don't want a reduction in the speed limit.
I do.
I'll
take one.
I like one. And you know, if you reduce the speed limit here to 35, people are still gonna be doing 40, okay? And then the police probably aren't gonna be, writing tickets for 39. So your speed is gonna be reasonable. Very few people can drive through here more than 45 an hour. If you reduced it to 35, you're still gonna be in 40.
So, I mean, to your point, I mean, really, the county really doesn't have any direct, type of save from that standpoint on a state highway. However, like for instance, when we've gone through different road projects, here in Sevier County, so Veterans Boulevard is a good example, is that TDOT has told us, hey, you could move up further on the list of things if you'll come in and partner with us by providing funding. So in order for us to get some of these major road projects, we've actually had the county and cities come in and match at 20% when other projects may have been fully funded from the state. We put in a traffic signal down on Boyd's Creek Highway here recently. That's a state highway as well. But we initiated that process, went through the TDOT process, and so that's just kind of what part of what we have to do. So they're correct, but what we have found is that if we are the ones helping to lead that and partnering in with TDOT, it tends to help make those projects go faster. And those folks at TDOT have been good to work with, and they've listened to us, and it really helps when we come in and we say, look, we're gonna do this. We think this is an issue. We're gonna show you how we think it's an issue by doing this and going through what they require us to do on these particular roads, and then we're able to move forward. So they're right. One thing that I think we would all agree, we don't like when the ball just kind of gets kicked down further, right? And so this is something at least on Lion Springs, we thought is very important for us to move forward with and for us to start that.
And I think everybody in here should understand too that if today they started the study, when the study is complete, then the engineering phase goes in.
That's correct.
Then when the engineering phase goes in, then the bidding goes in.
If we meet the thresholds.
And then when the bidding goes in, then the construction phase goes in. So we're looking at 3, 4, 5 years down the line, probably anyway.
Probably true.
Any question over here?
Is the Lion Spring red light, is it something we are doing or something we're looking at?
Like he was saying, the studies are going on right now. So like those traffic studies are going on. This Safer City thing where they've done the studies, that showed it as a troublesome area. But once again, and not trying to sell Fred out, but like it is at the state level. So like once they say, sorry Fred, once they say that, hey, yes, we do need it, and then it would come back to us, like he was saying, to entice it or promote it or decline it or come up with other options, but we're not to that phase yet on it. Hold on, I had one back.
I have a question. Is there any plan in place or people in place to protect the valley from becoming Pigeon Forge? As far as sewer, as soon as we start to bring, right? Like I don't even.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And I get this question.
100 rentals on.
Is there anybody or any thing in place other than the residents gathering together and fighting at?
Yeah, guns at the gate, I
Yeah, I'm
understand.
like, I'm there.
Yeah. So let me start by saying this. I've been hearing for like 20 years that the city of Pigeon Forge is annexing Wares Valley, or the city of Pigeon Forge is bringing their sewer lines into where, that's not the case. Actually, something I've learned in 3.5 years is you make money on natural gas, you break even on water, and you lose your hind end on sewer. So the city of Pigeon Forge does not want to bring sewer to Wares Valley. And not to mention, the county, we barely can keep up with the water right now. Because if we applied, what I didn't understand, I got on water department, like I asked to be on it. And they laughed at me when they said, you want to be on water? And I was like, yeah, I do. Because it's really tough. Because we apply for a ton of grants. But it's the same thing as Fred was talking about with our school system. They say, oh, you're rich, you've got this, you've got that. You don't need the grants, and it goes somewhere else. We stayed in Banner Elk like 2 years ago, and I was like 7 miles outside of town in Banner Elk on a little chip shot road, wasn't even paved. I get out there, 2 houses on this road. I'm walking around the property. I look down, there's a water meter. And I called them. I was like, I'm in Podunk, Banner Elk, in the middle of nowhere, and there's water here. But the difference is our tourism here actually hurts us in that department because they try to group us with this. Not selling out the cities, but hear me out. The cities get way more funding and more tourism money than the county gets. The county doesn't get that. And so it's a struggle. So our grant department applies for a ton of grants. However, once they kick that back on the poverty level of where it's going, in which now we've learned that we can go on the water quality. So if the water quality's bad, that actually bumps us up on the list to get the grants. Like Little Valley in Walden's Creek. It's been on the list now for what, Don? 3 years. I've been hearing it's gonna be done. 3 years. And I go to these water meetings. 3 years. But these other jobs go over on cost, and they steal from the next job to finish those jobs. Not steal was a very bad word. They take from those jobs to pay for the other job, but you have to, because you can't have a water line that's 80% complete and you can't furnish the homes. And so it's a tough slope. Like it's not, I had this mindset of come in, put a tower here, put a tower there, and everybody gets water. Because listen, Hatcher Mountain is bad. There's a lot of areas in the valley floor that are bad. Walden's Creek got some bad areas. Mockingbird, if you're on Mockingbird, it's tough up there. I'm right down below you. It's really bad. So we get this, but now these grants, we can put that in as the water quality, and it actually raises you up on the list, and so it kind of counterbalances your poverty level in your county.
Yeah, I offered lay it for free on weekends out Little Valley.
Do what?
30 years ago. They wouldn't do it.
Yeah, so you offered to put it for free out there, but they wouldn't do it.
I have a question, I'm just glad to talk, but what can be done about the ones that come in here and build cabins or have cabins, and they infringe on our properties because they want a better view and they cut down our trees or they damage our property, and then there's nothing we can do about it?
There's a lot of change coming down the pike right now on building. I don't know if y'all know this, and it's still in the works. It's very, very messy because you could say Sevier County is like 80% developed. Okay, it's like a good number to go. I'm being honest. Jones Cove's got a lot of room to go. There's a lot of growth still left in those areas. So there's a problem with we're trying to make it, especially the fire departments, more fire-wise is the best way to go about this. We can't just come in now and say, hey, you got your home on your half acre or on your 2 acres, but they can have theirs on 5 acres only. So it's that, once again, that gray area. But they're trying to make it tougher on the ridge lines, cutting out the building on the ridge lines, clearing your land. What's that, the visible? Your home can only be 30% visible from a state or county highway. There's a lot of things coming down the pike. I would just say, stay up to date on that, on keep some more.
If they come in and on not their property, but they get on your property and they cut your trees. Like they was people come on our property and they cut over 1,000 acres of their trees.
Out of my jurisdiction.
Mine too. We deal in criminal. That's a civil matter because they're trespassing. And as far as cutting those trees down, that's where we get out. We identify property lines and stuff. And I say we, I mean with a surveyor, and then you seek civil remedies down there. And our sessions and circuit courts have those avenues for you to go in, file a civil claim against someone. I had a guy today, he's gonna take a civil judgment against somebody for $4,000 on unpaid bills. Same thing happens if somebody comes on your property and damages it. At the sheriff's office, we could do a vandalism report, but at the end of the day, you'll be looking for monetary damages, and that's a civil matter you take through the civil courts down in Sevier County.
But there's still nothing done about it.
Well, that's the remedy, is to go through the court system. Yes, ma'am.
Can state representatives or can they not pass a law to stop these people from doing these damages to begin with?
That's in place. That's in place for them to encroach on your property, and the remedy is found in the courthouse.
This has been done to our property twice in the same place, so these people that have this cabin can have $1 million view and see the whole Wires Valley.
Yes, ma'am. And the remedy there is in the courthouse. It is. Those statutes are in place. No more than somebody coming on my property and damaging my driveway. I mean, there's a civil remedy there for me to seek through our courthouse. Yes, ma'am.
Back here in the back.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I live on Valley View Road, and I know there's 2 stop signs facing Bryan Road, and then there's a 3-way over by the church. And someone's gonna die at both of those. Because they just go right through them. I mean, they don't stop, they don't slow down, they just go. So the stop signs, people can't read. So what can be done? I mean.
So from my end, 453-4668, and that's us, and call us so we can come out and set up. So obviously, we couldn't sit at every intersection every day. But when you have a growing concern like that, I can't come out for a day or two to change a behavior. I need to have a concerted effort over a period of about 3 or 4 weeks. So now I'm not changing behaviors. Now they're like, don't go that way. That guy's there and he's gonna put paper in your pocket before you leave. So call us, okay? Call the sheriff's office. And you don't have to call on this one. I got it. I know exactly where it's at.
Every day.
I'll get it. And we'll spend some time up there. There are plenty of roads where people ignore the traffic control devices, whether it's in the middle of Pigeon Forge or on a back road off of Valley View. But we'll be more than happy to come out there. When you see something like that, just call us. We'll be more than happy to send our traffic unit out there or the patrol division that's here and focus on those areas specifically to try to help that. But it's not something that we just do a day or 2 at a time. We need to be there for 3 or 4 weeks and have like a concerted effort. Yes, sir.
Same area, Valley View Road there. The one side of the road has gotten bad all winter long. With potholes, that road is in.
Not the road guy.
Yep, he's here, but he's before you will say. He's actually already aware of that, and it's already on the list. So, we can't do like so much patching in the wintertime. Like, it's just not gonna hold. I'm not a road expert, am I right on that? And so, like, the first place they're coming is up here to do those fixes, and that's on the list. I actually got a phone call almost 2 weeks ago by Terry Browns, who called me. And I called them, and they're already aware of it, already marked it out, and how far it's gotta be and everything. Also, speaking of his thing about the Valley View and the intersections, as you can tell, they've been upgrades we're trying and doing. Like the 3-way's been added, the stop bar, which half of it's gone, by the way. Y'all see me, I told you. But half the stop bar is missing, but we did add a stop bar on the ground to try to show people that it's a stop sign. I think, and I talked to the supervisor for our area about this, maybe a new stop sign there also. Because it's a little bit old, so if we put a new stop sign, I think that might help also. There's not a quick fix there, I know that, but we are trying things, and I do think it's better. I do. Is it fixed? No, but I think it is better.
I got a fix. Put in one of them rude ass speed bumps.
Yeah, and that's an option. You know, we can look at that, something lights it up or something. It's kind of, when you come to that curve there, it's kind of shaded there. She's been waiting forever, right here.
Back to Lion Springs, you know, when we moved here in '99, when you were coming from Townsend, you just went off and turned right. And now they put that yield sign, and the people coming the other way that supposedly have the right of way, if they're tourists, why would you turn in front of a car turning right, so I can't tell you how many times I've almost gotten rear-ended, not to mention the people crossing the, going.
Yeah.
And sign up.
And is
That's
that,
dangerous.
and that'd be the state that put that in, didn't it? The state did that yield thing. Okay, well, we've got a new guy down there, so this is the man, he's on transportation. So. Because as you can tell, I know kind of using trouble here, but most of our trouble is the traffic on Wares Valley Road. It really is.
What about weight limits? When you've got 3-axle trucks that are hauling very heavy loads up Hatcher Mountain Road, when you've got weight, are there weight limits to the roads?
Some roads are posted, not all roads. Generally, it's just bridges that are posted on weight limits.
But, so it's okay for 3-axle trucks to be going up just any road in Wares Valley?
If they damage the road, we do pursue them to.
How would you know that?
It's pretty easy when they get stuck.
Yeah.
So, like over when they try to go across through the park on Line Springs, how many times are they sitting there jackknifed at the 1-lane bridge? Typically now, most of these places can tell over the years of the bad areas. It's like when you get a delivery, it'll say, we can't come to your house, you have to come meet me. It's very rare now that we see those big trucks like, do you live on Wonderland? Is that right?
No, I'm on Hatcher Mountain.
Okay, sorry, I thought you were on Wonderland. You had a sister that lives on Wonderland. But when they try to go up these roads, they figure it out pretty quick, and we're not seeing as bad as we used to with the fire department and stuff. It's not changed here lately. But now, there's still a troublesome area is Line Springs, and so they do post some signs on certain roads that says no big trucks allowed. I know during the interstate shutdown, whenever everybody was coming through Line Springs, that was a disaster. They changed the sign, the marquee sign there, like 20 times, and still had people drive right by it. We had a lot of the semi drivers that didn't speak English or could read English. And so they get over there and they'd say, hey, they said, we didn't see no sign or couldn't read no sign.
Well, could you do a citizen's arrest? Could we contact you?
Sure, set up. Yeah, I'll provide the golf cart. Go ahead, Ryder.
A few years ago, there was a town hall meeting with the park rangers about the extension. And one of the things that was brought up was the federal government has the authority to remove that road from GPS. Take it off the GPS maps. They said they've done it in other high. Is that even an idea? You take it off Google Maps, remove the road from Google Maps so they don't even know the road. Because we didn't have this problem until everybody got maps in their house.
That would be a question. I'll have to get my number afterwards, and I'll try to reach out to somebody at the Park Service. As you know, the Park Service has this big turnover right now.
No, the Park Service
so
has nothing to do with it.
It's really good luck getting a hold of them. We do have one person in the valley that's not nowhere near that department that works for Park Service, and he's been really helpful in answering questions in the past. But same thing with the state. Like right now with the state, there's this big turnover with the state also of guys that's on our crew, because I was complaining about our state highway here, that it's probably looked the worst it's looked since I've lived here. When that windstorm came through and that brush and stuff was down there, like looked like a small tornado came through right after Les Huskies. Well, sorry, right before Moonshine Ridge.
Yes.
It used to be called Les Huskies there. But anyway, that looked really bad for a while. We couldn't get no help on it. And so they're having a turnover also. So trying to be patient, but working with them also in the back.
All right, Bryan Road, coming off Valley View, they don't stop. I've almost been T-boned 3 times. In fact, one guy, he kept coming at me after I started to make that turn, and he wasn't about to stop. He was coming right at me. And finally, I just stopped right in front of him, and he had to back up in order for me to get around that curve right there on Valley View to go home.
Yeah.
I mean, I see that they put the white thing on where the stop sign is supposed to be, and, well, half it's all ripped off already.
Yeah, I just told him that. Yeah, they'll get on that. And we can look at, somebody mentioned like lining up the stop sign. So we'll look at some options on that. But once again, at least we're trying to do something. I drive through there all the time. I live up here. And so I know what you're talking about. I mean, I've about been drilled there. And just so you know, I've about drilled somebody there. So I've been on both sides of that.
That stop sign is it's always leaning too.
Yeah,
I mean, it's-
well, the problem is, it's also on that private property. So we talked about putting a sign before that gives the warning of the sign coming, and then have the sign. But then if you do the lights on it, that's gotta be powered by like solar. That's very shaded there. I don't think the lights are ever gonna stay on. So we'll look at more options, but we are trying. Like, as you can tell, the stop bar was added. I know part of it filled up, but there have been improvements made. We're just not there yet. Before everybody starts heading down, I wanna make something clear, like, this is the greatest place on earth to live. Let's not forget that. I mean, I've traveled a lot of places, but there's nothing like home. And for the most part, we do all really get along, because this is tough. I mean, you've got people that's born and raised here, you've got people that's been born and raised in another country, and we're all trying to stay together. And the fire department's been something that's been so important to this area for years. We supported it, took care of it. The school, I'm telling you, it's still the heartbeat of this valley. Let's not forget it. Because I'm telling you, it's doing really good things. There's numbers where I think we're up to like 30-something% of all the salutatorians and valedictorians at Pigeon Forge High School came from Werewood. And we only send them 9% of their student body. That's insane. And not to mention, it's great kids going down there because they're raised right. So I know we can have issues, we can have problems. I know people are wanting to go and stuff, and we'll keep answering if we can. But please reach out. If you got a question, call me, send me a Facebook message. I'll come out, I'll meet you, we'll talk about it. But don't forget, we are very blessed to live where we're at. And that's not a sales pitch. You've already bought me here. I don't have to sell you nothing. It really is. I mean, I wouldn't change it for nothing. Okay, go for it.
Okay, I agree with you, Brandon. That we still do need our big mirror there.
Yeah.
That comes around.
I seen that.
Can we put a stop sign for those that are up in the?
We can't because there's a stop sign right below it. But what we'll do is try to get it. She's talking about at Werewood. We put a mirror up at Werewood so when school traffic comes out, so you can see up toward Mockingbird. It's a little small, so we're gonna try to get a bigger mirror to put up there to make it easier to see the traffic coming down. I also talked to the, this was the old resource officer, Kevin Daniels, thank you, that was your department, about possibly trying to stop that traffic that comes off Mockingbird, stop that coming down while we're letting school out and stuff, so, working on it. Okay.
Got a question for the sheriff.
Yes.
Yes, do we have a dedicated deputy for Where's Valley?
Yes. So every shift, so we work 12-hour shifts, and so day shift, night shift, they rotate every 84 days from days to nights. And yes, you have at least one, most of the time two, that get the lower end of Walsh Creek, and then one up here in the valley. The reason being is we shorten those things, shorten patrol zones, increase response time. So it's really difficult if I've got somebody at Goose Gap nearly to Chapman Highway trying to make it to the head of the valley. So we try to cut those things off to where we have a faster response. So that Chapman Highway officer that's in the Goose Gap, Sugarloaf type area is not the same one that's trying to come to Hatcher Mountain. Does that make sense? So yes, sir. Day shift and night shift, there are dedicated patrols to the valley.
I also have one more question.
Yes.
At Line Springs, there's a camera there. Is that a federal camera or is it a state or a county?
We're being real nosy. No, I'm kidding. I put that up, just to be honest with you, and I'll tell you what it is. It's called Flock. And it's not a flock of seagulls or nothing like that. It's not invasive. It's a picture. It takes a picture of the vehicle. And if you will, what it is just a tool that we have on our belt. It works a lot like Facebook. I can be friends with you, in another department. And so what happens is we pay $3,000 a year per camera. I have 16 of them. Let me rephrase that. You have 16 of them across the county. The cities have about 10 or 11 each. We share those with one another. 6 out of the last 7 homicide suspects I've been looking for, I found using those cameras. Anybody that remembers the case of the Maples Branch where the son set up mom and dad and was trying to have them killed or whatever, we used those flock cameras to track the vehicle. The picture it took actually showed me a bullet hole in the front quarter panel on the passenger side to let me know, hey, that's my car. And then partnered with some of our citizens, looked at the Ring doorbell cameras to patch in between it. It was like a video. But those cameras don't do anything but take a picture. They don't talk about your financial situation. They don't look into how many times you've been stopped. It doesn't do any of that. It just takes a photo. That's it. Allows us to do different searches. If I'm looking for a suspect vehicle that's been up in the valley and maybe broke into a store or broke into some cabins. If I'm looking for a black Ford Explorer. I can just put that in and then give a time frame for the cameras that we have in that area, and it'll show me every black Explorer or anything close to that came through. If I get a partial tag, I can put that in. The idea is to get a picture of the vehicle with a tag on it. Now, it takes a picture every time a car comes by, but every car is not what we're looking for, so we get a little bit more specific about it, and that just increases our response time. We had a homicide in Kodak a few years ago, about 6 years ago, and the guy left here, went through Maryville, went out through the valley, went into Townsend, went into Maryville, drove all the way to Kentucky on 75, and we chased him via camera. And we didn't have to go fast, because you can't outrun a radio. We called the state of Kentucky, said, "State police, can you help us out?" Met him at the Food City in Harlan, Kentucky, and I won't even get into that story, but the sheriff does a lot of things there. He has a concession stand, he's a sheriff, he runs the courthouse, it's crazy. But we were able to track him using those flock cameras. Josh Carr, the man that killed his mother several years ago, we found him in about 10 minutes. I knew he'd left the county, but I wasn't sure how. Got in the federal system, because that was before we had flock, put him in a system called Diesel, and that was the same type thing like his flock is. Put him in a system, Michigan State Police were tracking his vehicle in 10 minutes, had him stopped just outside Detroit. We put him into custody. So it's a really, really vital tool. It just took a long time. So we pay $3,000 a year per camera to have them installed. Then we have to maintain that. That's $48,000. We have to pay the renewal fee for them to monitor and allow us to be that, have that service. But we don't use my budget for it. We use opioid abatement money. So we got a settlement from the federal government to settle the crisis of opioids. All I have to do is be able to show the nexus of what it does. It helps us find people who are on dope. And it does. So it's not using, your tax money. It's actually coming from somebody who got sued and lost. And we use that money on a regular basis for things like that, educational programs for our kids and drugs. We use it for these cameras to help us find these people who are making victims out of some of our citizens. Does that help? Okay. And by the way, it's been said, it's not from China. It's not. It's made right here. I promise you it's not. It's made right here. It's not Russian either. It's not. Russia. No, it's not. It's not. It's made in the United States. So. Yeah. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
My wife and I own Heavenly Rose Coffee Shop at the corner. Pine Springs and Rose Valley. We tried to get a crosswalk put in between us and Mountain Brothers, and like the gentleman up front, we hit dead ends. Any?
So I'll get you for jaywalking, but I don't put the crosswalks in. Who's that? I agree.
When they come from Townsend, that's not a very sharp turn.
Yes,
They're
sir.
doing 50 miles an hour. And then when they hit the straightaway,
Well, they've slowed down after they left Brown Road, because they've been down Brown Road 90.
I know exactly where you're at, but I don't know if that's something they can do is put a crosswalk in, because I think that's gonna slow down traffic more, because it's so close to an intersection. Maybe it's better to have signs up that says, "Do not cross the road" or something. I know you're not, because you stay busy, especially the summers.
They get somebody
Yeah,
killed.
very small parking lot.
and vice versa.
Yeah.
They're-
But I'll have to, like, that, once again, that you're within that so many feet distance of the state highway, so I think we really need to get that representative for that from the state up here. And just go out and we can try to discuss the 17 issues that are on Lime Springs. Does that make sense? Like, I think there's a lot to it.
About a roundabout.
Heck no. No.
What was that again? But like, there's a lot of issues there, and listen, everybody has ideas on it, and I'm not saying your idea's wrong or your idea's right, but like, we're gonna have to work together on this. I'm gonna tell you, not everybody's gonna be happy with the solution of the fix they come up with. That's just the bare facts of it. But something needs to be done. Just don't know what it is.
If they put a traffic light, they might be able to put a crosswalk.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you can do that. You can just have them build a pedestrian bridge over. Or hey, get a stream. You can pull the coffee across the road. Figure it out.
He's about to say.
One more.
Yeah, I told him I said, hey.
For real. I got
Fire
roasted
department,
those.
sheriff, emergency services. We're at the lower end of Chamberlain on a gravel spur. So we've got a reflective strip, but nobody can find us. How can I know that if I need you, that you'll be able to find us?
Google Maps actually doesn't bring you to our house, it brings you all the way up into Hickory Hollow.
It takes you into the Hickory Hollow subdivision.
I built your house, so I know what you're talking about.
Way to go, Brandon.
I can't believe it. They wanted to be away from everybody, now they want to find them.
Exactly hide and seek. You gonna play the seek part, right?
I want these guys to find me. I don't want anybody
So,
else to find
let me ask you a serious question though, like, do you have the?
Yes,
Okay.
on that pole.
Arrows work great also. So like get arrows, then also if you call 911 or something, explain that. So like if you ever have trouble, like he was saying with deliveries to your home or something, and you know how to explain that better, don't just call and say, hey, I'm at where I'm at, and roll with that. No, say, hey, people have trouble finding this. I'm the first driveway on the left when you come up Chamberlain, or second driveway on the left. I can't remember, it's been a while. But you can tell them the better directions, and they'll relay that from 911, from dispatch to them.
Yeah, you can actually call the non-emergency number and give some specific directions for your address. They'll flag it. And then the backside of that, now that would be for fire and ambulance and for the sheriff's office. But at the sheriff's office, if we're coming to your house, I have a GIS mapping person that actually works in my office. And so she has gone in and just dropped a box number on about every house in the county. Not on the driveway, on the actual structure. So chances are, most of the time, because the worst thing happened to a sheriff's office deputy that's trying to get to your house and there's like, I don't know, hypothetically, we're in a trailer park, it's Thanksgiving night, that 16 by 80's got too many people in it, somebody got too much turkey, they're mad, there's a fight. We don't have time to get to the bottom of the mailbox with 342 mailboxes and go, wonder which one's lot 17. You know what I mean? We need to know where to go. So we drop the box number or lot number on top of every one of those. So they can say, go to the second road, take a left, search trailer on your right. It looks like there's a blue car there. You know, and then go that route. So we've done that. And then on the same time, like I think the chief would tell you, at our 911 center, call the 9 emergency line. I think it's 453-4152, I believe is what it is. And you can, sorry, it's a number thing. I don't know why I do that. But you can actually give some specific directions for your address, and they'll flag that. Every time it comes up, whoever's responding, whether it's Chief Puckett or the ambulance service from Director Valentine or the sheriff's office, will have a really good idea of how to get there quickly.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's exactly what he was saying is correct. The 911 center down there, you can have them, if it is actually not listed correctly, then you can go down there and have that corrected. And that's separate from the 911 dispatch. So we have a lot of places that it has an address, but like 10 lots. And okay, well, we've got, you know, like you were saying, which one's which, and that is addressed down there at the E911, where they can go and look at it and put that in, and it'll tie in this number.
We've even tried to update people to see if we could do that, and it doesn't work.
We can't get a hold of the state, we're not getting a hold of Google.
We don't use Google Maps for the most part on our apps, they have their own. So that's not necessarily as big an issue as
And if your home's built within the last, 10 years when the real mapping started, like with your home, GIS has got a map on it. Like when we apply for an address for your home, they'll ask, like, where's this driveway coming off at? Is it before this home or after this home? So they ask all those questions. Now, if your home's been existing for 20 years, that may not be the case, but what he's saying, they went back in and mapped those houses. We have a GIS department, that's all they do now.
Okay.
Go ahead. I know you're home.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
I have an issue I need to bring up with Brandon, but
I guarantee.
We can do it afterwards when everybody has to leave. I don't have to hold everybody here. Can we speak?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Everybody good?
You want to speak?
Yeah.
I heard y'all mention. Just talking about them taking up, chemicals and stuff. I think they do that in April, call Sevierville City Hall, they might tell you when.
Okay.
I heard you guys mentioning that there's no plans for city sewage to come down.
Yeah.
But when you have to come out in the season, and there's so many people, I mean, every business pretty much says no restrooms, no restrooms, no restrooms. And what you end up with is tourists basically finding any little bush, nook, or cranny they can find and leaving you a pile of toilets. Is there any plans possibly for putting in a public restroom somewhere along 321 to alleviate that? What the problem is, you know, all these old businesses, they're all sitting on very old septic tanks, and we can't handle an influx of people.
Yeah, so there's new things going into place on the fill lines that have already started, like how many square feet you're allowed per bedroom. I know if you're a realtor in here, you've already heard about this, lots going on with it. They're changing that, so it's no longer based where you say a 3-bedroom, and you can have a 6,000 square foot 3-bedroom house. On the same note, these businesses, it's the same thing. They were originally designed and approved for a certain amount of people. If they're going over that amount of people, then that's what backs up the fill lines and the issues with that. Matt Culp made a comment to me also, like the fill lines and stuff, the reason it's all been done is the park is doing a study on the streams in Wares Valley and how much water loss there are now versus what it was 20 years ago coming out of the valley. And he said that relates back to the fill lines and stuff. So there's issues there as far as the traffic, or I mean, like a public, there's no open land available in Wares Valley to buy. It's all privately owned. So I would encourage if like one of the businesses or something wanted to donate some land to go toward that, hey, talk it out. The other issue, all of Wares Valley Road down the heart of it is really bad soil. And so, but the biggest issue is a lot of these businesses are overusing what they were set up for, their occupancy on it. Not all, I'm not saying that, but it is an issue. I was trying to think what was the one a while back. The one that burned down up here. Geppetto's. That was the issue they were running into. Is to build back, they're going to have to add so many more feet of fill lines that they couldn't do it. So they're going to have to go to a drip system. Didn't have the room for the drip system. And so it's a real issue, but it is getting stricter on what can be built and what's allowed. As far as the businesses go on using the restrooms, I don't have a fix for that. I really don't. If at some point it's backing up the system, it means the system's being overused.
Well, the people are just not allowing them to use the restroom, and
Yeah.
they have nowhere to go. Like
Yeah.
gas stations keep an eye on them.
Well, we got porta potties now down here at the convenience center.
Yeah.
There you go.
But I'm just saying, like, I don't have a quick fix to that. I really don't. I mean, I don't know an answer.
That would actually work.
Yeah, I don't really have nothing more than convenience center right now. I think we're gonna hold it by itself right now. Yeah, make that bottoms. It feels good too. Yeah, but I don't have a solution. I really don't, except for these businesses might like slow down the use or the people out inside or something.
Well, that's what I've had to cut people off.
Yeah.
Period, just deny them all. But then, you know, then you catch them out behind your dumpster, leaving you stuff that you don't want.
Yeah.
It's not.
Once again, there's a lot of classy people coming here now also. But I don't have a solution to it. I really don't, except for the fill lines are getting overused everywhere. I know it's getting late. I know you want to go. Please find me before you leave. If you have a question or something, I'll give you my number. You can call me tomorrow or Saturday or whenever, and I'll get with you. Thank you all.